We're now one step closer to our bell on the bookshelf ladder moment, but we're not quite there yet. Welcome to the Building Our Dream Bookshelf series. In part 1, you watched us build the base structure of the cabinet. Now for part 2, we'll show you how we trimmed out the bookshelf and built the doors for the cabinet. Let's get to it. The first step in trimming out the bookshelf is to mill the rough sawn poplar. We begin by running our boards through the planer. We draw pencil lines on both sides of the boards, and as they run through the planer, we can easily keep track of which side has passed through. I planned and pre-cut the boards to rough measurements, and marked which piece of trim that board is on the end grain edge of the board. That way the labels remain after milling. We usually run about 4 passes alternating sides until we reach our desired thickness, which in this case is 18 millimeters. The next step in milling is running the boards through the joiner. This shaves off small amounts of wood from the edge of the board to create a perfect 90-degree corner. That way the edge runs perfectly along the fence of the table saw when cutting the boards to the final width. We mark the 90-degree corner on the sides that ran along the joiner fence and blade. Those are the sides of the board that you want to glide along the table saw top and fence when ripping. John sets the blade height so the lowest part of the blade gullet is even with the top of the board. This helps keep the board cooler as it's cutting. Then we start ripping the boards to the correct widths. The last step is cutting the boards to the correct length on the miter saw. Now that our rough lumber has been transformed into smooth trim boards, it's time to add some details with the router. We're starting the trim out with the bookshelf side panel. They will go together like a paneled cabinet door. We found that using feather boards really helps keep even pressure while pushing the long trim boards through the router. I definitely recommend doing that extra part of the setup. After we're done with the roundover style bit, we switch to its companion bit that interlocks the pieces. Using a jig to hold the board makes a huge difference in accuracy and safety. After both router bits cut the pieces, you have a lovely tongue and groove joint that nests together beautifully. We used 1/4 of an inch MDF panels because we were painting the cabinets. With the panel pieces ready to assemble, we got to work gluing and clamping them. We measure and mark everything using millimeters, and the same goes for exact placement of the height of the rails. Here's a tip. If you have any glue squeeze out in the corners, use a plastic straw cut at an angle to clean it up. It works great. Now we scribe the wall side of the panels. The style that touches the wall was cut extra wide so we could scribe the cut. Walls are never perfectly even or plumb. To scribe the line, I use a technique that involves a metal washer and a pencil. After cutting the scribe line, we glued and nailed the panel into place. It sits flush with the front edge of the bookshelf. We installed all 4 side panels, and then it was time to start the front. Where the ladder rail will be installed, I put a nailer board cut from plywood. Then we glued and nailed the shelf fronts in place. The pieces are our standard 50 millimeter width. That's just under 2 inches. All of the shelf fronts will be recessed from the main face frame. We added this detail for a little visual interest. After installing the shelf fronts, we started the main face frame. All joints will have a domino for strength and stability. We even connected the face frame pieces to the countertop with dominoes. Instead of building the whole face frame at once, we installed it piece by piece, paying close attention to the best order in which to install. We started with the center stiles. All trim pieces are glued and nailed into place with 18 gauge nails. Next, we centered and marked the ladder rail before cutting the domino holes. Once the holes are cut, we dry fit and then install it. The 2 smaller stiles for the upper display boxes are then installed, followed by the top rail. The crown molding will cover the remaining gap later. Dance break! Our 3 children looked on from the dining table as we celebrated things going smoothly so far. By the way, the song playing is Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue. Okay, back to business. All that's left to complete the upper face frame is the 2 stiles that run from countertop to ceiling. Those pieces have 4 dominoes, 1 into the countertop, 2 into the ladder rail, and 1 into the top rail. Then glue and nail the stiles into place. Mwah! Uh-oh, crown molding sample sneak peek. Before installing the lower face frames, I applied a clear polyurethane finish to the cabinet interiors. I like seeing the wood when opening the cabinet. Next, we followed a very similar process of installation. I centered and marked the top rail, dominoed the pieces, and installed. Next, the center stiles. Then we attached a plywood scrap to the clips on the feet of the cabinet boxes. This will function as a nailer board for the baseboards later when the wood floors are done. Then we added the lower rail and the 2 side stiles. That completes the lower face frame. Next up, building the cabinet doors. We milled more poplar for the doors, cut them to length, and ripped them to width. We set up the router with the same bits and feather boards and ran everything through. Here's the white side stile and rail round pattern, part number 6001 that we used. As John ran the tenon edge through the router, I sanded the splintery edges smooth. I like doing this part. Repeat, repeat, repeat for all 12 stiles and 12 rails. We cut the MDF panels and I said, that looks too wide. Yep, it was too wide. So were all the rails. I forgot to subtract the stile widths, so the rails were 100 millimeters too wide. Too wide isn't too bad of a mistake. You just cut off the extra and redo the router cuts and sanding. After fixing that mistake, we glued up our doors and stacked them, with spacers in the clamps. While they dried, we trimmed out the plywood countertop. We put a few dominoes, glue, and nails to join the pieces. That's probably overkill, but we like a belt and suspenders approach. We also left the ends long so we could cut them flush afterwards. To install the doors, we drill out cups for the soft close hinges to sit in. Use a self-centering drill bit with a square to pre-drill holes for the screws, and then attach the hinges to the doors. I used a screwdriver by hand instead of a power driver so I didn't over-tighten them. John drilled holes for the shelf pins. Next, I marked the hinge clip width on my homemade template. This template marks the location for the mounting plates. With the door held in place on top of an 1/8 of an inch shim, I held my drilling template in place and used this self-centering drill bit to pre-drill holes for the mounting plates. We used custom blocks to bump out the hinges just because of the style of hinge. We didn't have enough face frame in the back to use the face frame mounting style hinges, so we used Blum's clip-top Blumotion frameless soft close hinges. The spacers were made to the exact thickness needed on the planer, and I put a coat of shellac on them. We needed to use longer screws because of the added thickness. These parts won't be coming out for paint, so I used a power driver and tightened them down snugly. The door hinges clip into place fairly easily, and then are slightly adjustable with 3 different screws, going up and down, in and out, side to side. Now the shelves go in for a fitting. Finally, the crown molding installation. We installed a few angle blocks because the joists run parallel to the cabinet front. Then we cut and glued the crown molding corners before installing it. That wraps up the trim stage of the bookshelf build. It turned out pretty spectacular, if I do say so myself. Now it's time for painting. I'm hoping I can share that video sometime in the beginning of September. If you want to see some of the behind the scenes, I share those over on Instagram at Paige Handmade. Like and subscribe if you want to see the next video in the series. And until then, go get creative and make something you love. Bye!